This is the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Sr. Thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. And what we're going to get into, NFL free agency gets underway on Monday. The official new league year also coming up this upcoming week. So I want to take a look at the top 10 players at every single position who the 49ers can sign in free agency. Before we do all of that, if you're excited to see what the 49ers do this offseason, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Think about what's transpired already and think about what could come down the road. Robert Saleh hired as defensive coordinator. Brant Boyer hired as special teams coordinator. Couple of other coaching moves made by this coaching staff under Kyle Shanahan. Deebo Samuel got dealt. Brandon Ayuk could be on the trade block. Niners have been busy. They're going to continue to be busy. So hit that subscribe button and like the video. Let's begin by taking a look at the top free agent quarterbacks. Some starters on this list, and of course some backups, as Brock Purdy is going to need a backup behind him in 2025. Sam Darnold leading the charge. Aaron Rodgers, if he wants to continue to play. A lot of buzz behind Justin Fields going back to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see if that happens, where that would leave Russell Wilson, who took over for Justin Fields as the starter about a quarter of the way through the season. Daniel Jones got let go by the Giants, latched on with the Minnesota Vikings, but he's going to be a free agent. Mac Jones is a popular name who's been tied to the Niners because Kyle Shanahan liked him in the pre-draft before San Francisco took Trey Lance. Marcus Mariota, good backup behind Jane Daniels with Washington, but he's going to hit the open market. Jameis Winston has some good moments, throws a lot of picks. Because of that and the inconsistencies there, it's better as a backup in this league. Jacoby Brissett has been one of the top backups in the NFL. And then Jimmy Garoppolo, the backup behind Matthew Stafford. The Rams really like him. Of course, a question mark at the Niners quarterback spot. Will the Niners get a deal done with Brock Purdy? We'll see. Regardless, San Francisco will be in the market for a backup quarterback. And so some of those names could be of interest to San Francisco. We flip the page to the top available free agent running backs. This class, nowhere near as good as last year's class, which was headlined by Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, who ended up being the top two running backs in the game statistically in 2024. Aaron Jones was also a free agent last year. He signed with Minnesota on a one-year contract. He's going to hit the open market. J.K. Dobbins was really good for the Chargers, but has a lot of injury concerns. Najee Harris has some Bay Area ties if the Niners are looking for a physical running back. If they lose Jordan Mason and Harris wants to take a hometown discount, maybe Harris could make his way to his hometown team. Nick Chubb, great player, but a lot of injuries and severe injuries at that. Javonte Williams got off to a great start with the Denver Broncos out of North Carolina. Tore his ACL, hasn't necessarily been the same player since. Rico Dowdle, really good player for the Dallas Cowboys this past year. I imagine Dallas would like to bring him back. Kenneth Gainwell, solid backup running back behind Saquon Barkley. Third down ability as a pass catcher and pass protector. Ty Johnson, physical running back of the Buffalo Bills. I'm pretty sure that finally Kareem Hunt is going to be done, but who knows? If an injury happens, he could join a team at some point in the season. And then Cam Akers, never quite living up to his potential, but at moments, he's been a spark plug running back. Jordan Mason on this Niners roster is a restricted free agent. He could be a trade piece for San Francisco. And the Niners will have an opportunity to match a deal from another team if offered. They could also flex their muscles and place a second-round tender on Jordan Mason. And if a team really wants him to be their starter by placing a second-round tender on him and the Niners let him go, San Francisco could get back a second-round pick. The running back position is a little bit cloudy for San Francisco because you have Christian McCaffrey coming off of all those injuries. He's also 28 years old. That's a concern. And I like Isaac Guerendo. I was a fan of the selection in the 4th round, but he's been fragile throughout his football life. Top free agent wide receivers. We've talked a lot about Devontae Adams here on the show. Grew up in East Palo Alto, went to Palo Alto High School, went to Fresno State. He's said to want to return to the West Coast. Chris Godwin, coming off that ugly leg injury in which he had that ugly broken bone, but he's been a very productive player throughout his career with Tampa Bay. Stephon Diggs did tear his ACL last year. Keenan Allen is a go up and get it type of wide receiver who on a cheap deal could be of interest for the Niners. DeAndre Hopkins, another bigger wide receiver who's not going to blow past you, but can come down with those 50-50 balls and give you a physical element on the outside. Amari Cooper trending toward being washed. Didn't look great while with the Buffalo Bills teaming up with Josh Allen after that trade. Darius Slayton, I'd like him on the Niners, frankly. I don't think he's been able to show his best football because the quarterback play was bad. Mike Gesicki listed as a wide receiver, more of a tight end, but he doesn't block. Then there's Elijah Moore and Marquise Brown. I do think the Niners need to get a little bit faster. I would be a fan of a vertical threat on this Niners receiving core. The Bengals did put the franchise tag on T. Higgins, so technically not a free agent. They're going to try to negotiate a deal with him. But after the Deebo Samuel trade, wide receiver does become a little bit of a need, especially if the Niners trade away Brandon Ayuk, and I would be a fan of signing Devontae Adams. I know he's on the negative side of 30, but the production is still there. And low-key, he was really good with the New York Jets last year. Don't let the bad team overshadow what he was able to do. His numbers were and have been very consistent and elite. The top free agent tight ends. It's not a great class here. Juwan Johnson, Zach Ertz is old, but he's been great throughout his career. Tommy Tremble, Tyler Conklin, Patrick Ricard. You have Austin Hooper, John Bates, Kylan Granson, Mo Alley Cox, a really good athlete, and then Gerald Everett. What I think the Niners should do is start to develop a young tight end too, next to George Kittle and behind George Kittle. And the Niners haven't signed George Kittle to a contract extension yet. And if they don't, you're going to need a young tight end on this roster to start to develop. I think that Mason Pline is a diamond in the rough player who might be able to become something after being on the practice squad all last year, has those basketball player traits, size, and athletic skills. But this is a pretty good tight end class in the NFL draft. So I would like to see San Francisco take a tight end and use more two tight end sets and maybe grab one in the first 3 rounds. Top free agent offensive tackles, Ronnie Stanley, the cream of the crop, and then it's everybody else. Dan Moore Jr. of the Pittsburgh Steelers, Morgan Moses got a clean bill of health of the New York Jets, Tyron Smith might decide to call it quits, but obviously a historic career for him. Cam Robinson did play well after he got traded to Minnesota due to the injury there to Christian Darrisaw. Jedrick Wills has never really turned into the player who a lot of people thought he was going to become. You have Kelvin Beachum. Jalen Moore is probably a top 5 tackle in this free agency class because of the age, the potential, and how he played filling in for Trent Williams last year. Would not surprise me if a team banks on the upside and gives him $15+ million, because if he plays well, that could end up being a bargain. And then rounding out the list, Dan Skipper and DJ Humphries. Not a great offensive tackle market. So the draft is top heavy as far as offensive tackles. There are a lot of really good interior offensive linemen. Not a lot of good tackles in this draft class. That's why if Armand Membu falls to San Francisco at number 11, you got to take him. Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks, I'm intrigued by them. Ariante Ursary, that's a player I would also look at. But in the second and third round, the talent skill really falls off. Whereas last year, it was a deep offensive tackle class. Either way, the Niners, in my opinion, need to draft a right tackle, an offensive guard, and a center to rebuild this offensive line. Because when good offensive linemen hit the open market, they can make some crazy money. And speaking of that, we go to the top offensive guards. There was a report from Tom Pelissero that Aaron Banks could cash in for $18 to $20 million per year. He's an average to good player. That's great money right there. So if you draft offensive linemen, they're under team control for 4 to 5 years. I think that is really the play. And then, of course, you're willing to spend on elite offensive linemen to retain them and not let them hit free agency. Top offensive guards available, Will Fries, Mekhi Becton, Patrick McCarry, Tevin Jenkins, good player, but he's always hurt. You have the aforementioned Aaron Banks. You have Ben Bredesen, Brandon Scherf, James Daniels, Kevin Zietler, and Will Hernandez. The top 5, a lot better than the last 5 on your screen right here. And I alluded to it. The offensive guard market, it could go crazy. And a player like Drew Dahlman at center, the Niners are interested in him, according to my sources. I'd be willing to pay him $15 million per season. A team like the Chicago Bears, rumored to be interested in signing him for about $20 million per year. I'm not doing that when you can draft a rookie and pay them a fraction of the price. We're talking like a fifth of the price. So Drew Dahlman is a player who I'd love the Niners to sign. I think he's an excellent scheme fit for Kyle Shanahan, but it comes down to the price. Josh Myers has been a really good center. You have Ryan Kelly, Austin Corbett, Bradley Bozeman, Coleman Shelton, Brady Christensen, Liam Eichenberg, Evan Brown, and Nick Gates. Nick Gates is not good at all, so San Francisco should not go in that direction. Again, Drew Dahlman is the guy. Scheme fit. Still only 26. Grew up in Salinas, California. Dad played for the Niners. He went to Stanford. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have invested in centers. Weston Richburg, Alex Mack. But if he's going to be offered $20 million, go ahead and take it because that's too much money. With that, I ask you this. Which offensive free agent do you want San Francisco to ink to a contract? Join the conversation down in the comment section right now. These Niners polos, thanks to our friends at Fanatics. These are the coaches polos. Nike. They were $80. They are now on sale for just $43. All you have to do, use that link down below. chatsports.com/49polo. Get those polos while they're hot on the streets. Top free agent defensive tackles. Javon Hargrave will officially be a free agent. He's probably the second best defensive tackle in this free agency class. And I know that John Lynch has said, yeah, we're interested in bringing him back. I don't think they're going to be able to afford him, nor do I think they should bring him back. I think San Francisco needs to get younger, more athletic, and more explosive at that defensive tackle spot. And you can do that in the upcoming NFL draft. Milton Williams of the Philadelphia Eagles had a huge Super Bowl, had that strip sack of Patrick Mahomes as the splash play. He was the second highest graded pass rushing defensive tackle in the game. I think he's going to cash in between $18 to $20 million. Osa Odighizuwa was re-signed by the Dallas Cowboys, so not going to be a free agent, and that does put a dent in this free agency class. I'd be down for a reunion with DJ Jones, number 2 in run-stopping win rate among defensive tackles last year. You have Poona Ford. You have Levi Ozurike. You have Jerron Reed, Tier Tart, Tershawn Wharton, and Calais Campbell, who can kind of play defensive tackle, defensive end. And he might be long in the tooth, but he's actually still playing some really good football. And speaking of this defensive tackle class, we were at the NFL Combine last week, and we had a feeling going into it, it's going to be a pretty deep defensive tackle class. Then you started to see all those defensive tackles working out, speaking with the media, the talent on display. The Niners can get 2 really upper echelon, in my opinion, defensive tackles in the first 4 rounds if they decide to go that route in the draft. Top free agent edge rushers. Joey Bosa could be the apple of the Niners' eye. He wants a reunion and to play with his brother Nick. Mama Bosa wants the Bosa brothers to play with one another. According to reports, the Niners are going to show interest in Joey Bosa. The concern with him, he's been hurt so much over the last few years, and it really comes down to the price tag. If he's willing to play for cheap, I'm down. If he wants a lot of money, see ya, because I'm not giving him that much coin because of the injury concerns. The production has been good when he's been on the field, but he hasn't been on the field enough. Josh Sweat, he'll get paid in free agency, especially after a really good season. You have Malcolm Kuntz, who's a solid player. Chase Young, some chatter that he could re-sign with the New Orleans Saints. Wasn't a cultural fit for San Francisco. Hassan Reddick still has some twitch and explosion off the edge. I don't think he handled that holdout well, but you could buy low on him, and as a pass rusher, still has a lot of ability. He's been very productive. DeMarcus Lawrence, older, I wouldn't take him. You have Dayu Adeyingbo. He is really starting to gain a lot of traction as an edge rusher of the Indianapolis Colts. Joseph Asai of the Cincinnati Bengals, Baron Browning, and Azeez Ojulari rounding out the list. Azeez Ojulari is a player who I'm very intrigued by. If I'm San Francisco, I'm checking in on him. And let's revisit Joey Bosa here. Again, important to emphasize, when he's been on the field, he's been productive. But he has not played 16-plus games since 2021. He does not have a double-digit sack season since that year. As a rotational player, even as a buy low starter opposite of Nick Bosa, it'd be a lot of fun to watch, a lot of fun to root for. Could you bank on him finally staying healthy? Potentially. But again, I want to emphasize a lot of concerns with bringing in Joey Bosa to team him up with Nick Bosa. The top free agent linebackers. I'm keeping Zach Bond on this list because it could set the market for what some of these other linebackers are able to get. Zach Bond had one good year of production. He was an All-Pro, first team alongside Fred Warner, and a finalist for Defensive Player of the Year. But he had that one good year of production, and he's 28 years old. He's still got $17 million per year. I think that's a good sign for the prospects of Dre Greenlaw getting paid. Obviously, he has massive injury concerns, and if a team gives him a multi-year deal worth a lot of money, it's a big risk. But if he stays healthy, that can end up being a franchise-altering move. I don't think the Niners are willing to do that because they want to get younger and they want to get healthier. You have Ernest Jones of the Seattle Seahawks. Nick Bolton has been a mainstay of one of the top defenses in the NFL with Kansas City. Jamian Sherwood is a player who thrived under Robert Saleh, has a defensive background, and he's an excellent athlete. Robert Spillane has been a good producer as far as tackles, but he's not great against the pass. Levante David, successful player for a long time. Bobby Wagner is a future Hall of Famer. Eric Kendricks signed originally with the Niners and then ended up spurning them, signed with the Dallas Cowboys. That's what led to the Niners signing Devondre Campbell, and that impacted this Niners defense because Eric Kendricks was pretty damn good for Dallas last year. Then you have Kaiser White. A lot of reports out there that Dre Greenlaw might be gone, and if he is able to get a contract, he should take that, considering the lack of money that he's made and the injury concerns that he's had. The top free agent cornerbacks here. Charvarius Ward, top cornerback in this free agency class. Second team All-Pro in 2023. The writing has been on the wall that he's going to leave the Niners. Love DJ Reed, but that corner market might be a little bit too rich. Carlton Davis, good year last year with Detroit. Prior to that, really good player with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What'd you say about Byron Murphy? Byron Murphy of the Minnesota Vikings, gonna be a free agent as well. Rasul Douglas, really hard-nosed player and physical, kind of fits what the Niners might be looking for, especially out of the slot. Paulson Adebo coming off a broken leg, but very good player. You have Asante Samuel Jr., who's been a ball-hawking machine. Christian Fulton, Mike Hilton, and Jordan Lewis also going to be free agents. And then we take a look at the safety market. But first, just some thoughts real quick about DJ Reed. I would love for him to come back to the Niners. Didn't like how that tenure ended, and the Niners probably messed that up. They tried to get creative with finding a way to keep him on the roster, and then he gets scooped up by Seattle, balled out. Balled out so much that he landed that big deal with the New York Jets, 3 years, $30 million, and flourished under Robert Saleh. I love his versatility. He's very steady. He has not been injury prone, but I don't think the Niners are going to be in the market for a corner of that price tag of $15 to $20 million. They're going to let Charvarius Ward walk for that reason. They signed Diamador Lenore. They really like Renardo Green. I think they might try to go with the cost-efficient approach. Then DJ Reed may have outpriced himself with how well he's been able to play of late. Top free agent safeties. Justin Reed of the Kansas City Chiefs. He's in his latter 20s. Talanoa Hufanga. I know he hasn't played a lot the last 2 years, but he's a former All-Pro who's only 25 years old. And because of that, I think a team gives him a bag. Javon Holland, I've liked him at moments, but he's been way too inconsistent. And I think a team might pay him $18 to $20 million. That's just too much. Trevon Merrick, Jeremy Chin. You have Marcus Williams, Justin Simmons, who's been an All-Pro before, Andre Sisco, Fidu Melifanu, and then Julian Blackmon, who is a player who the Niners showed interest in last year. And I think that you could get a player like that at a pretty affordable price. Now, I know some of you are going to say, Chase, you didn't show the list of kickers. I'm telling you right now, you don't want to see the list of the top kickers available. because that list is slim. So you're hoping that Jake Moody works out. What I would do if I'm the Niners, I'm bringing in kicking competition for Jake Moody to push him a little bit. But if he doesn't work out, kicking could be a big question mark for San Francisco going into 2025. So that's offense, defense, top 10 players at every single position going into free agency. Name a defensive free agent now who you want the Niners to sign.